Our man, Tom Luginbill, the guy who is the GOAT, the king of spring football. Tom, so stoked that you could join us here. Thank you for joining UFL Today tonight, knowing it's a little bit later than normal. Appreciate you making time for us. Here's my first question for you, Tom. We watched a situation in which a coach benched the front runner for MVP in the middle of a game to replace him with a backup quarterback. Talk to me about not only what Matt Corral did, but making that move.
So a couple of things. It kind of takes me back to the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season when Skip Holtz was trying to kind of find his way, right? He had started Matt Corral, then he was rotating them. And we actually had Birmingham on the road at Michigan in week 3. And the quarterbacks came to Skip Holtz and said, listen, just start one of us and play us, because coming in every other series, it's just hard to get in a rhythm. We don't like it. So Skip Holtz said, okay, here's what we're going to do then. We gave Matt Corral a start. He played. We played the second half with Adrian Martinez up on the road at Michigan, and Adrian Martinez had a great day that afternoon and then became the starter from that point forward. But I'll say this, guys. This started about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And if you listen to the language Skip Holtz shared with Adrian Martinez, you know, I need you to start seeing it. I need you to come back into our offense and start playing in our offense because it works. I had the loss on the road at San Antonio, and it started right around there. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the league catching up, if coaches are saying, you know, I think we can get a hold of this guy and force him into some bad decisions just because now they've got more tape on him. They've got more tape on the offense. But he just wasn't seeing it. And if you looked at yesterday's game, for his fair share of really nice plays, he was also very indecisive. The deep ball down the sideline on the go route was a poorly thrown ball. It wasn't a well-run route either. But I just think that Skip Holtz trusts both of those guys. And when it came down to it, he needed to get a spark. He needed to, number one, send a message to Adrian Martinez, and then he needed to spark his football team. And in doing so, he went with Matt Corral, who's got more arm talent, can drive the ball vertically, get the ball downfield, and he made decisive decisions. You know, you made the routine plays routinely, and now you go into this week, guys, and in my opinion, you dance with who brung you. You give Adrian Martinez an opportunity to prove that he can see it, that he can settle down, that he can bring himself back into the offense. And then, you know, you got a great option in Matt Corral if for some reason it's just not going well up in St. Louis.
Now, is this something that, you know, we can only see in spring football and not the NFL? Because, you know, in the NFL, you probably want to see your quarterback roll with your guy and try to keep him up as he works through these struggles. But obviously in spring football, the backups have just as much talent as the starters.
Yeah. Listen, I think that the way Skip Holtz has handled these two and how transparent and upfront he has been with them from the moment they arrived on campus. Oh, on campus, I guess you could say, in training camp in Arlington. College football getting to the best of me right now. He kind of just told them, here's the deal. You guys are going to battle it out. We're going to chart every throw, every poor decision, every correct decision, every incompletion, every turnover. We're going to gauge how the locker room responds to you guys. And then you guys will determine on the field what your play is. If you're playing well, you're going to continue to play. If you're not, we're going to give the other guy a shot. So I think because the guys know where they stand, they understand it and they get it. I'm sure if you talk to Adrian Martinez right now, he would tell you that, yeah, did I like it? No, I'm a competitor. Have I played great up until this point and gotten this team in this position? Yes, but it wasn't happening in that moment. And the head coach makes the head coaching decision. So, yeah, you're not going to see a lot of this type of stuff in the National Football League. But I think it's something that Skip Holtz has managed masterfully. And listen, well, the only thing better than having a quarterback is having two, right?
Yeah,
I remember the 2001 XFL, our championship team in Los Angeles. We had Tommy Maddox, and we took Scott Milanovic with the first overall pick in the draft. We're not going to be left without a quarterback. And I think Skip Holtz kind of took a similar type of stance on it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at this situation, that was a huge coaching move in a massively clutch moment for this team, for him to say, you know what? I'm the leader of this ship. I'm going to make this call. If we go down, that's on me. But I think my team needs this.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think he did such a great job on. And one of the reasons why I feel like Birmingham has done so well this year. It's not just because of Adrian Martinez. Even though we talk about him as the obvious MVP frontrunner, Skip Holtz has been incredible as a coach. I just want to ask you about him in comparison to the rest of the UFL coaches and what you've seen from Skip Holtz being able to lead this team all the way to the championship.
So it's interesting. When we had them the first time, I believe it was either week 2 or 3, and I point blank just asked him, because I have a background in spring football as a coach, and I just said to him, I said, how much fun are you having? And he goes, Tommy, this is the best job I've ever had. Now think about that.
Love hearing that.
He goes, this is the best job I've ever had. He goes, the guys are hungry. They're a pleasure to coach. We're not dealing with the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness and books and tuition and our guys going to class. Are they getting – these guys are all invested. So he's treated them like professionals, and he's treated them like men, and in turn – they've rewarded him with performance. And I'm sure you guys have heard it each and every week. And I've told our producers this. I said, guys, I don't care what he's saying. If he's having a conversation with a player, we listen to it. I lay out, Lowell lays out, because he is television gold for this league because of how he deals with his players. And his tone, his demeanor, really good with the quarterbacks. And I asked him that question. I said, who responds to being yelled and screamed at? Who needs to have your arm kind of put over him and say, hey, come over here, let me talk to you for a second? And you kind of learn that about your players. And he's just so good with the communication and again, the tone and the demeanor that I think there's a tremendous amount of respect for him. And listen, guys, I mean, it's hard to win one game. Like when you're doing what they're doing, it gets harder because the target gets bigger, right? And everybody's going to put their best foot forward. And it's human nature to start believing everybody when they're telling you how freaking good you are, right? They're patting you on the back and, oh, my goodness, a 14-game win streak and back-to-back USFL champions, and now you're playing for a UFL championship. It's easy to go on cruise control. And somehow he was able to manage that component of his team to have a very even keel throughout the season. When things went down, they didn't go down. If things went up, they didn't get caught in the clouds. Even keel across the way. That's why they have great sustained consistency as a football team.
All right, last one here as we wrap up the USFL conversation. Michigan, and Dopp, I got you here. I'll address this.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Plus 1,200 to start the season.
That's right.
Nobody expected them to be in the position that they were. And then they led the entire UFL with 7 all-UFL players. What is it that made this team so special to be able to make it to this point where nobody else believed that they could?
I think it's resiliency, and to be honest with you, I think it's coaching on the offensive side of the football. Marcel Belfay did a sensational job when he was dealt the hand that he was dealt. Guys, it's hard to find one good quarterback, right? They got to this point having to play 3 guys, one of which they signed off the street in Bryce Perkins, right? You had E.J. Perry, then you've got Danny Etling, and the thing's going in this carousel, and it's like teams don't survive that, right? So they're loaded on defense. They did a great job of identifying how were they going to accentuate the strengths of who was playing quarterback that week and try to mask and minimize the weaknesses. They could run the football effectively. But I did vote for Mike Nolan as coach of the year. And a lot of people say, well, how did you not vote for Coach Holtz at Birmingham? And it's for the very reason I just stated. I mean, you get into the playoffs having to play 3 quarterbacks in a 10-game season. And for the vast majority of those games, they didn't have their starter. And so I thought that was really impressive coaching job by them. And they just ran into a team that Birmingham team, man, they just never look at the scoreboard. They don't pay attention to the clock. They don't pay attention to what the score is. They just play.